Duggar Family Secrets. Jill Duggar announces new book before documentary release. Jill Duggar, a former reality television personality, best known for her appearance on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting, and its spin-off, Counting On, has officially announced the upcoming release of her new book. The announcement arrives ahead of a highly anticipated documentary featuring members of the Duggar family and their former religious affiliations. The timing of Jill's announcement has drawn public attention due to its proximity to the documentary's release, with many observers noting the significance of her decision to speak out once again. Jill Duggar has increasingly stepped into the public eye over recent years to address her personal experiences within the Duggar family and the Institute in Basic Life Principles, the controversial religious organization that her family was closely associated with for decades. Her latest project, a memoir, is expected to continue the narrative she began sharing in public interviews and in the 2023 Amazon Prime docuseries Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets. The upcoming book, according to Jill and its publisher, will delve into her life behind the scenes of reality television, her struggles with personal autonomy, family expectations, and the emotional complexities of navigating separation from a tightly knit and highly controlled household. Jill previously co-authored the 2023 memoir, Counting the Cost, with her husband Dillard, where she detailed many of the pressures and dysfunctions she experienced while being raised in the Duggar household. Her new book is described as a companion to that earlier publication, but is said to contain new material and previously unreleased insights. The title of the new book has not yet been disclosed publicly, but pre-orders have already begun on various online platforms. Promotional materials suggest that the memoir will include Jill's reflections on womanhood, motherhood, spiritual revaluation, and the burden of public scrutiny. Jill has said that writing the book has been a healing experience and that she hopes it will provide a voice for others who have felt silenced by family, religious authority, or cultural norms. According to the publisher, the memoir also contains excerpts from journals Jill kept during her years as a television personality. The inclusion of these personal writings is expected to provide more context to key events already known to the public and offer her candid emotional reactions during those times. The memoir is structured in chronological order, beginning from Jill's early childhood to her current life as a wife, mother, and outspoken advocate for family accountability. Jill's latest literary project comes at a time when renewed focus has been placed on the Duggar family due to the upcoming documentary sequel to Shiny Happy People. While details about the documentary remain limited, it has been confirmed that the new series will expand on the IBLP's influence and its founder Bill Gothard, as well as the broader network of families who adhered to its teachings. Producers have also indicated that they will be exploring the continuing impact of the Duggar family's fame on former cast members and the wider fundamentalist Christian community. Jill has not confirmed whether she will be appearing in the upcoming documentary sequel. However, her decision to release a book so close to the documentary's debut has fueled speculation that her personal narrative may address or preempt aspects of the film's content. Public reactions to the announcement have ranged from supportive to skeptical, with some critics questioning whether the timing is strategic while others applaud her continued willingness to speak out. In a written statement released on her personal website and social media platforms, Jill explained her motivations for writing the new memoir. She stated that the process has given her a renewed sense of purpose and that she hopes to support others who are grappling with difficult family dynamics, religious trauma, and recovery from emotional suppression. She also emphasized that her intent is not to condemn individuals, but to encourage honesty, healing, and transparency. Jill Duggar's relationship with her family has been publicly strained for several years. In multiple interviews and previous statements, she and her husband Derek have described ongoing disagreements with her parents, especially surrounding financial arrangements made during their time on television. They have claimed that they were not adequately compensated for their appearances on the TLC shows, and that contracts were signed under pressure and without full understanding. These allegations have never been publicly resolved by the Duggar parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle. In addition to financial concerns, Jill has spoken about how her decisions to distance herself from certain family practices and religious doctrines created tension and resulted in partial estrangement. She has stated that setting boundaries was difficult but necessary for her personal growth and mental health. Her public statements over the past few years have focused on emotional healing, religious deconstruction, and the value of therapy. Dillard has been vocal in supporting his wife throughout her journey. As a licensed attorney and former missionary, he has provided legal and emotional support while also publicly backing Jill's right to tell her story. In past interviews, Derek has confirmed that he and Jill took a step back from the Duggar family after feeling manipulated and controlled in both personal and professional capacities. In Counting the Cost, Jill described specific incidents where she felt her voice was ignored or dismissed. One key example involved her and Derek's decision not to participate in the wedding of her brother Justin Duggar. She noted that the choice was due to family conflicts rather than any animosity toward Justin himself. Other stories included disagreements about privacy, child rearing, and the couple's refusal to allow their children to be filmed. The new book is anticipated to expand on these themes while also providing a broader narrative arc. Early reviewers who received advance copies under embargo have described the memoir as candid, reflective, and carefully written to balance honesty with respect. Some have noted that the writing maintains a focus on personal experience without delving into gossip or accusations. Jill Duggar has acknowledged that sharing such deeply personal stories comes with challenges. In a recent podcast interview, she said that choosing to speak publicly can invite criticism, but that she believes staying silent would be more harmful in the long run. She reiterated that her goal is to encourage others who have experienced emotional repression, especially in religious environments, to find their voices. As anticipation builds for both the documentary release and the book launch, members of the Duggar family have remained largely quiet about Jill's new project. Neither Jim, Bob, nor Michelle Duggar have commented publicly, and other siblings have not issued statements either. In the past, Jill's revelations have caused ripple effects throughout the Duggar extended family, with some expressing support behind the scenes, while others remain loyal to their parents' positions. The Duggar family has been subject to widespread scrutiny in the years following the cancellation of their television shows. Much of the attention has focused on the criminal conviction of Josh Duggar, Jill's oldest brother, who was sentenced to over 12 years in federal prison for possessing child sexual abuse material. Jill was one of the sisters identified as a victim of inappropriate behavior by Josh when they were children. She previously addressed the matter in an interview with Megyn Kelly and later again in Shiny Happy People. The fallout from Josh Duggar's legal case has only intensified public interest in the Duggar family dynamic, and Jill's voice has often been seen as a key part of that public conversation. Her willingness to speak, despite pressure to maintain silence, has positioned her as both a critic and a reformer of the world she once inhabited. Observers have noted that Jill's transformation from a sheltered homeschooled daughter in a large conservative family to an outspoken advocate for boundaries, therapy, and accountability marks a significant departure from her upbringing. Her book aims to trace that evolution, documenting how she navigated the transition from family obedience to self-advocacy. In terms of public reception, Jill's previous book received mixed reviews, with some praising her bravery and others questioning the motivations behind her openness. Despite the varying opinions, there is general agreement that her story contributes meaningfully to the ongoing dialogue about reality TV families, religious indoctrination, and the psychological toll of public exposure. The upcoming memoir is scheduled for release within the next few months, although the exact date may be adjusted based on documentary scheduling. Jill and Derek have continued to maintain a modest public presence online, frequently sharing family updates, photos, and inspirational messages. Their 3 sons are often featured in family-friendly content, though the couple has chosen to shield them from public filming for privacy reasons. Looking forward, Jill has expressed interest in continuing her advocacy for survivors of religious abuse, and she has hinted that her future projects may involve podcasting, speaking engagements, and nonprofit work. She has also encouraged her followers to support organizations focused on mental health, counseling, and support for women leaving high-control environments. In summary, Jill Duggar's announcement of a new book represents the latest chapter in her public journey toward healing, self-definition, and advocacy. Coming just ahead of a documentary likely to reignite discussion around her family's legacy and religious upbringing, her memoir is expected to serve as both a personal reflection and a cultural commentary. While reactions will no doubt vary, Jill has made clear that her intention is to share her truth, in the hope that it will resonate with and uplift others who have walked similar paths. Her story continues to evolve, and with this new memoir, Jill Duggar appears committed to providing her account of life within and ultimately outside of the Duggar family's world. Former Counting On star Jill Duggar appears to throw shade at estranged dad Jim Bob Duggar in Father's Day post. Jill Duggar Dillard, a former star of the reality TV series Counting On, made headlines once again following a social media post on Father's Day that many interpreted as a subtle criticism of her estranged father, Jim Bob Duggar. The post has sparked renewed attention surrounding the ongoing rift between Jill and her parents, particularly Jim Bob, who has often been portrayed as the central patriarch of the Duggar family. Jill's Father's Day message, which was shared on her verified Instagram account, included a tribute to her husband, Derek Dillard. The post focused entirely on Derek's positive qualities as a father to their children and emphasized traits such as compassion, presence, and emotional availability. While Jill did not explicitly mention Jim Bob Duggar, the absence of any reference to her own father, especially on a day dedicated to paternal figures, led many followers and observers to speculate that the post was an indirect dig. In her post, Jill praised Derek for being a supportive and emotionally involved dad. She mentioned that he makes time for their children and shows up in meaningful ways. Phrases like thankful for a man who is emotionally available for his kids and grateful for a father who listens and cares deeply stood out to followers familiar with her strained relationship with Jim Bob. Many saw these remarks as thinly veiled criticism of how she perceived her own upbringing under her father's strict authority. Jill's decision to publicly acknowledge Derek's parenting while excluding any reference to Jim Bob is consistent with her prior statements and behavior since distancing herself from her family's brand and values. Jill and Derek have both spoken out in various interviews, podcasts, and their own book about their experiences growing up in the Duggar household. They have frequently addressed the deep ideological and emotional differences that contributed to their decision to step away from the family and the Counting On series. In past interviews, Jill has described the environment within the Duggar household as restrictive and overly controlled. She has spoken about how her father maintained a stronghold over decisions that affected the adult children, including financial matters, media appearances, and personal choices. The couple has also alleged that they were not fairly compensated for their work on the family's reality TV shows, and that Jim Bob managed the contracts in a way that left them with little say or autonomy. Jill's 2023 memoir, Counting the Cost, co-written with Derek Dillard, explored these tensions in greater detail. In the book, she described her childhood under the authority of Jim Bob and detailed how her relationship with her parents began to deteriorate after she and Derek started making independent choices. The memoir recounted specific instances in which Jill felt pressured or manipulated by her father, particularly when she attempted to step away from the family's public persona. On social media, Jill's Father's Day post drew a range of reactions. Some followers praised her for honoring her husband and continuing to set boundaries, while others criticized the perceived slight against her father. Many Duggar followers and critics have observed that Jill has consistently chosen to support her own nuclear family while establishing space between herself and her parents. For supporters, this is seen as a courageous and healthy step toward healing and autonomy. For detractors, her approach appears to be public and confrontational. The post also included pictures of Derek with their children, smiling and engaged in outdoor activities. These images reinforced the narrative of an involved and emotionally present father. The tone of the caption was affectionate and genuine, filled with appreciation for Derek's parenting. Nowhere in the message did Jill reference her own father, her upbringing, or her family of origin, yet the context created by her history and prior disclosures fueled the widespread interpretation that the post was more than just a simple Father's Day tribute. While Jill has not confirmed or denied any intentional shade, her pattern of communication over the years has often involved subtlety and indirectness when addressing family conflict. She rarely names individuals outright, choosing instead to make general statements about growth, healing, boundaries, and mental health. This strategic ambiguity allows her to share her perspective without directly attacking family members in the public eye, though the implications are often evident to followers. Observers of the Duggar family saga note that Jill has gradually become more open about her experiences, especially after stepping away from the influence of her parents and the Institute in Basic Life Principles, the controversial religious organization the Duggars long supported. Her critiques have extended beyond family dynamics to include commentary on the restrictive beliefs and gender roles promoted by the IBLP, which she now distances herself from. Jill and Derek have emphasized the importance of emotional well-being, mental health, and spiritual freedom as they raise their own family. They have been open about seeking therapy, pursuing education, and prioritizing communication within their marriage choices that contrast with the upbringing Jill described. Her Father's Day post, therefore, fits within this broader theme of intentionally building a different kind of family life than the one she came from. The broader Duggar family has remained relatively silent on the matter. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar have not publicly addressed Jill's book, interviews, or social media commentary. However, sources close to the family have reportedly said that the estrangement has caused ongoing tension among the siblings. While some of Jill's siblings continue to publicly support their parents and remain closely aligned with their teachings, others have also begun to branch out, though with varying degrees of openness. As Father's Day passed, media outlets and Duggar watchers continued to analyze Jill's post as yet another milestone in the long and complex story of her departure from the Duggar narrative. For fans of Counting On and the broader Duggar family franchise, Jill's evolution is emblematic of a larger shift. What was once presented as a unified, values-driven family is increasingly being re-examined through the lens of individual stories of dissent, autonomy, and personal truth. Derek Dillard, a central figure in Jill's departure from the family, has also made public comments about Jim Bob Duggar's role in their lives. In previous social media posts and interviews, Derek has alleged that Jim Bob misused power and manipulated situations to maintain control over the adult children. He has been especially vocal about financial arrangements, claiming that many of the children were not compensated appropriately for their participation in 19 Kids and Counting On. In light of these claims, Jill and Derek's decision to use Father's Day as an opportunity to uplift their version of fatherhood sends a strong message about the values they now hold. The contrast between Derek's parenting and what Jill has described from her childhood under Jim Bob seems intentional and deliberate, even if not explicitly stated. This distinction resonates with followers who view the couple as role models for reclaiming independence from toxic family structures. The response to the post also reflects broader cultural conversations about boundaries, generational trauma, and the right to redefine one's family narrative. Jill's journey is not unique in these respects, and her story has been used by many advocates and commentators as an example of how individuals can begin to heal after growing up in high-control environments. While her critics argue that she should avoid public commentary on family matters, her supporters emphasize that sharing lived experience can be empowering and validating for others in similar circumstances. Looking ahead, it remains uncertain whether Jill and her father will reconcile. Past statements from both Jill and Derek suggest that reconciliation would require acknowledgement and change from Bob Duggar conditions that have not yet been met. In the meantime, Jill appears focused on raising her children in a nurturing environment, practicing openness, and continuing to advocate for autonomy and emotional health. The Father's Day post may not have included Bob Duggar's name, but its impact was felt across social media and entertainment platforms. It reaffirmed Jill Duggar's ongoing effort to differentiate her family's values from those she grew up with. By honoring her husband and choosing to highlight the qualities she sees as essential in a father, Jill implicitly commented on the absence of those traits in her own upbringing without ever having to say it outright. Ultimately, Jill Duggar's post fits into a broader pattern of intentional living and narrative control. As she continues to speak out, write, and share glimpses into her family life, the contrast with her upbringing under Bob Duggar remains a central theme. Whether interpreted as shade, a statement of healing, or a declaration of new beginnings, Jill's message has added another chapter to a story still unfolding in public view. The conversation around Jill Duggar's post underscores the enduring public interest in the Duggar family and the complex legacies left by reality television, religious conservatism, and family dynamics shaped by fame. As more former family members find their voice and platforms to share their stories, the narrative once controlled by a central figure is increasingly shaped by those who lived it and now seek to reclaim it on their own terms.